I'm 79, and for most of my life I never said no. Not to my husband, not to my children, not even to people who barely knew me. I thought that made me kind, dependable, someone worth loving. For 42 years, I was married to a man who leaned on me for everything, not because he couldn't do things himself, but because I never stepped back long enough to let him try. I handled the cooking, the cleaning, the bills, the appointments, the birthdays, every small detail that kept life moving. And I never complained because in my mind, that's what love looked like. You give and you give and you keep giving. Even after he passed, that habit didn't leave me. My children started calling more often, but not to ask how I was doing. It was always something they needed. Help with the kids, help with money, help with dinner, help with life. And every time, without even thinking, I said yes. Even when I was tired, even when my body ached, even when all I wanted was a quiet moment to myself. Saying yes had become automatic, like breathing. Then one evening, something small happened that changed everything. It was raining outside, the kind of rain that makes the world feel still. I had just made myself a cup of tea and sat down for the first time all day. My phone rang. It was my daughter. She needed me to come over again. And without thinking, I stood up and reached for my shoes. That's when I froze. For the first time, I noticed something that had always been there but I had ignored. I hadn't even asked myself if I wanted to go. Not once. That realization hit me harder than anything else. It wasn't about my daughter asking for help. It was about me never giving myself the chance to choose. I had spent my entire life being available to everyone else and completely unavailable to myself. And in that quiet moment, standing there with my shoes in my hand, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hesitation, a question, a voice inside me asking, "What about you?" That night I did something I had never done before. I picked up the phone, called her back, and said 2 words that felt almost impossible to say. I can't. There was silence, then disappointment, then that familiar guilt started creeping in. She told me she really needed me, and for a second I almost gave in like I always did, but this time I didn't. I stayed quiet, let the discomfort sit there, and held on to that decision. After we hung up, I felt terrible. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept telling me I had done something wrong, that I had failed as a mother, that I was being selfish. But the next morning, something unexpected happened. Nothing. The world didn't fall apart. My daughter figured things out. No one stopped loving me. No one left. Life continued exactly as it always had, and that's when it finally clicked. People will take as much as you are willing to give until you show them where it stops. From that day on, I didn't become a different person overnight, but I started changing in small ways. I began saying no, not to everything, but to the things that drained me. And slowly, something new entered my life. Space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to exist without being needed every second. I started taking morning walks again, something I hadn't done in years. I began reading books I had put off for decades. I sat in silence without feeling guilty about it. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt like a person again, not just someone who existed for others. That's when I understood the lesson that took me 79 years to learn. Being needed is not the same as being valued. If you're anything like me, you've spent your life saying yes, believing that love means sacrifice, that your role is to give until there's nothing left. But one day you have to ask yourself a simple question. When do I get to choose me? I'm 79, and I can't go back and change everything. But I can change this. And if you're listening right now, you still can too. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you will ever say is no.